Access to clean water in Africa has experienced a significant and positive development in the last decade, in line with the achievements of the Millennium Goals. South of the Sahara, only half of the population had access to clean water in 1990. 20 years later, that has risen to 2/3. Thanks to the work of the African Development Bank, Africa's main partner in the water sector. In Rwanda, for example, AfDB projects over the past 5 years have provided nearly 600,000 people with drinking water close to their homes. The primary beneficiaries are women, especially young girls.
Before we were often afraid because we had to walk a long way through the forest to fetch water. Alone in the forest, the girls were scared because it took a long time. And it was also very tiring to make this trip backwards and forwards every day. When it was time to go to school, we often used to go and fetch water instead, and we'd miss whole days of class. Now that the water is available nearby, I come back from school and I do my homework. I no longer have to go a long way to fetch water.
However, the challenge was a serious one. Located in a mountainous and barely accessible region, most of the villages are scattered and no mains water network connected them. The objective of the African Development Bank, which funded much of the project, was to create a sustainable infrastructure. The construction of a pumping station now supplies the surrounding villages, and water bills pay for maintenance. For individuals and government organizations, the better quality of life is important, and the price of water is often cheaper than before. Previously, the health center had to collect drinking water from more than 4 kilometers away in jerry cans, at a cost of about 30 cents each.
In 2012, the average water bill was between 48,000 and 52,000. But now the last bill I saw for March is about 9,000. That's the difference. In 2010, diseases related to water were the second most common of all those we treated here at the health center. In 2011, they were still in second place. In 2012, we managed to get them down to third most common. And in 2013, when the project became operational and we had access to water, these diseases dropped to 6th place. Today, diseases related to water are in 8th place.
In the region of Louga, 200 kilometers north of Dakar, the Drinking Water and Sanitation Program, or PEPAM, has meant several villages are now connected to the water mains, allowing women's groups to improve the quality of their market produce.
There are several women's groups that operate in the same area but with different produce. And each group earns approximately $415 a week or more than $1,600 a month.
There are about 200 women in each association. With water more readily available, women's associations have been able to significantly improve the scope of their activities. All agricultural produce and income generated from sales are equally distributed among the women's groups.
This project through market farming gives us vegetables, vitamins, quite a lot in fact. It allows us to be almost self-sufficient. We sell what remains, which allows us to have a little income to meet the needs of our families, such as health, the children's education. And if we ever need extra cash, you can now borrow as a group. for major expenses, like health problems, for example.
The secondary programs of the PEPAM project, financed by the African Development Bank, cover several rural areas. With a total investment of more than $115 million, the bank is the principal donor in the sector of water and sanitation in rural Senegal. It's an ongoing program that has a positive impact on the daily lives of the local people.
The AfDB and PEPAM projects focus on providing drinking water and sanitation, particularly with the introduction of sandpipes, direct supplies to homes, and family and public latrines. They also allow for the improvement of water management in rural areas with the establishment of users' associations, which help awareness and capacity building components of those involved, especially women.
We assessed the program to measure the initial impact, and we realized the time women spent fetching water was reduced by 60 to 70%.
The project has helped about 800,000 people in rural areas, almost 6% of the Senegalese population, and some of the infrastructure has been in place for several years. Their management has been delegated to user associations. 500 have been created across the country. They're responsible for the distribution of water, the collection of water bills, and basic maintenance.
Our association has an office and a committee. There are 9 members, including 3 women. At the end of the month, we collect payments and we pay the driver and other employees. We buy diesel and the rest of the money is deposited in the bank by our treasurer.
A priority of every development program is to help the most remote areas. And this applies even to countries that have a solid infrastructure already in place. With 90% of its population having access to water, Tunisia is better placed than most countries on the continent. However, inequalities do exist. Entire territories are without water, which has a serious effect on livestock ranchers and farmers, who often want to seek a living elsewhere.
We have problems getting water. I live more than 2 kilometers away. I come here with my wheelbarrow and jerry cans, so I can't carry a lot of water. Then there's the road. It's in a bad state. I have to push the wheelbarrow right up to my house. In winter, when it rains, it's almost impossible. When someone gets sick, everything is held up.
Yet these provinces have what it takes for economic development. The supply of drinking water covers more than 80% of Tunisia. The African Development Bank is funding our $140 million program, which got underway in 2012.
This project will allow us to fulfill 3 objectives. Firstly, to provide enough quality drinking water. The second is to improve people's quality of life through better sanitary conditions. And the third is to make the territory more attractive via economic development and job creation.
In the rural Benarus province, work is nearing completion. The connection to piped water will be a relief for many farmers. Issam is unique. He's blind and, despite the misgivings of his family, decided to stay in his native region. He lives alone but is helped by a youngster during the day.
بالطبيعة إنسان تعب حتى في الدوش، إنسان تعب حتى في طرف ماء نظيف، طب بالنسبة لنا الماء اللي نجيب فيه ماء.
It's tough without water, even for showering. The water you can buy here is expensive, and it's just rainwater. It's never very clean, and you can't drink it. To drink, I have to wait for my father to come from Tunis. He brings tap water from the city. He makes the entire trip with the bottles. It's tiresome and inconvenient for all concerned. I asked to be connected to the main supply, and that should happen by the end of the week. Then I'll be able to go ahead with my dairy cow project.
Preserving the environment and natural resources is essential in every country in the world, but even more important in countries like here in Morocco, which is in a situation of water stress.
Because of the various projects funded by the bank, we were able to help the Moroccan government preserve and sustain water resources, because this is an arid country where water is hardly plentiful.
At the city of Kanifa in the Middle Atlas region, much of the sewage goes straight into the river, making it totally unsuitable for human consumption and destroying much of the aquatic life. The construction of a treatment and sewerage plant means the water from the river can be filtered to make it drinkable. The new plant supplies nearly 250,000 people with clean water. A few miles away in Kurigba, a sanitation team is carrying out maintenance on the city's new water network. Just 2 years ago, houses, cellars and sewers were flooded and overflowed into the streets with every heavy rain.
Before, when it used to flood, the streets were covered by water and the houses too, and the damage was very serious. Today we no longer have that problem. I can leave my home and walk on the pavement. Even when it's been raining a lot, the streets and houses are no longer flooded.
Considerable progress has been made across the continent. The AfDB has now helped tens of millions of Africans benefit from access to water, improving health, quality of life, education and entrepreneurship. But the challenges are immense. The annual deficit in water and sanitation infrastructure is estimated at more than $14 billion. With the African population expected to double by 2040, only determined action and renewed support from donors will win the battle of water for the poorest on the continent.